All right, hopefully that should start with that. All right, hopefully that should be recording and screen sharing now. But okay, audio's good. All right, this is my final project for Art History 27. I chose for my like animator game director, I chose Shinji Mikami. I'm most likely gonna butcher most of these names throughout this entire time, so bear with me and do what I can. I'm also sick, which is why I sound like this. Uh, apart from that, but I chose Shinji Mikami because he created Resident Evil. First Resident Evil 4, The Evil Within, and really did which he set a basis for like the survival horror as like a game series going forward. That to me was really interesting because I love those games. They're a lot of fun. Now, if I can get my slides to work with me. So, who is Shinji Mikami? He is a Japanese game director and producer because he created a long list of games, more than I have listed here, but he also produced a few movies. He was born August 11th, 1965 in Awakumi. Yeah, I'm not even, you know what? Somewhere in Japan. It is there. I'm not very good at pronouncing that. It's going to be terrible. He's known as the father of survival horror. Like I said before, he created the original Resident Evil, he created Resident Evil 4, The Evil Within. Apparently, he also made Hi-Fi Rush, which I didn't know. That's one of the much newer ones, but the Resident Evil games are the main that I focused on here because of how interesting they are. Moving on, how did he early career wise? He joined Capcom in 1990 as a planner, and I'm not gonna lie, I did forget to look exactly. You can imagine kind of what a planner is, but I didn't look exactly what it is. First project he worked on were a lot of Disney games, which I didn't realize they had so many random Disney games back then. But Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Aladdin on the SNES, Goof Troop, which is the picture I have over here, which I didn't realize that was a game. Actually, I had to look it up. It was quite interesting. A lot of skills he developed working on these Disney projects. A lot of skills were, puzzle design, timing, player readability, trying to, figure out, look at a player, be like, all right, what are they thinking about doing next? A lot of puzzle design, because a lot of these early games were like a lot of level based of just, oh, how can we wander around here and make it somewhat interesting? Uh, why was it useful? I mean, why is it useful? Because all these skills that he learned from here translated really well. All of the player readability, the puzzle design, the timing that you learn from your Disney games transfers really well into learning timing in horror games and making level design to make it scary and make it screw with people in a sense. Next slide, we're doing Birth to Survive would be a Birth to Survival Horror. So this is where he created, it says directed, should say created, the original Resident Evil in 1996. Was inspired by a game created in 1989 called Sweet Home, which I did not know. And this incorporated a lot of his what I called like key aspects of survival horror that helped really define the genre. A lot of it is fixed camera angles, which for the first Resident Evils, you see that where every time you enter a new room, your camera's looking from this angle and you're just moving around it. It's different than what we have now. Limited supply, you're managing the small amount of ammo or health kits or stuff that you get. Slow, deliberate pacing or tension building. It's a horror game. They tried to make it scary. Like cinematic tension, trying to use like, well, my example here is like, look at the, I believe this is Resident Evil 7. Yeah, Resident Evil 7, but like it's just a creepy atmosphere. Like even just a cinematic picture of like, yeah, that looks creepy. Uh just using the map around you in essence to build tension and stuff has always worked really well for these. Makima's design, that is a picture, I believe, from the first Resident Evil, where it uses that camera to you're running down the hallway instead of your camera following it. But core concepts he incorporated. Core concepts he attempted. This is a list of what he wanted to incorporate into which should be incorporated to make a good horror survival game. One of the eliminate safety. Your players should feel vulnerable. They should be. Uh, think if you ever played a Resident Evil game, there's a safe room, and everywhere else, you can get got anywhere. They will find you. So that's the big eliminate safety, make people feel vulnerable in places they normally wouldn't. Gameplay first, story supports mechanics, not the other way around, which is just a great idea going forward in all of your games and designs and such. Your story should work off the mechanics it has, not let me, work this mechanic into my story. It should be the other way around. Iterative prototyping, constantly testing and disregarding ideas, just building upon something, see what works, see what doesn't work. Did this uh sorry, brain died for a second. Did this version of attempting to do this work? Did this action work? Did this action not work? Camera as a tool for emotion. It's almost similar to how they capture movies and such, using the camera angles to not show too much of a scene or show just enough of a scene, slowly creeping around a corner to make people feel fear or build tension or build surprise. Precise control and animation timing. That one is precise control. Think about if you ever had, again, Resident Evil. I'm going to keep referencing this. This was what most of it's about. But like, all right, you've ever had to shoot at like a zombie or something, you have to aim for the head, or you have to the precise control. You have to be with your limited supplies and stuff. You really have to, you have to be precise and stuff. Animation timing, a lot of quick time events. Everybody hates quick time events, but maybe it's just me. Player psychology drives level design. I like uh this concept because a lot of people think, depending on how you play a game, like you look at it and go, most people can look at it and go, all right, how am I going to approach this? And you can see a general aspect of how people are going to approach something. Uh, why do any of these concepts matter? Because all these concepts taken apart, you can sit down and be like, okay, I understand how each of these works, but managing to put all of these together and working seamlessly within a game is incredibly difficult. Sure, I can always, I can eliminate safety in an area, but how do I do that to a degree where players can, still move around without instantly dying? How do I incorporate eliminating safety with everything else in this list? In the way that he wound up implementing these greatly shaped, not greatly, completely shaped how they did horror, survival horror games in the future and up to now. It's what I called the redesign. So this is when it got past few years have passed. We're on Resident Evil 4, and this one completely was a big redesign on what we were used to. The first Resident Evils, where that side camera, where the camera doesn't move, the character moves around it in essence. And this one introduced over the shoulder, the typical third person camera we're used to seeing, brought in precise aiming, enemies reacted to things, quick time events. I hate quick time events. Maybe that's just me. But even like as the things, that's Resident Evil 4. But even below, that's the over-the-shoulder camera we're all used to for most survival game, like survival horror games you're used to now, or just random combat games. I said, set the standard for new third-person games. Anyone who has played video games has played a third-person shooter like this now. Why did it matter? But why did his work matter so much? So Mikami, he majorly defined two genres. He defined the survival horror. First he defined the survival horror genre completely with Resident Evil, which Resident Evil 4, he went on to make The Evil Within. All of these games, it's a base template. Everything else you see somehow takes ideas from these games and builds off of it. Second most, he created the modern third person action camera. That was a weird amount of words I put in there, but he created that third person camera that everybody knows. Everyone has played a game with this. That itself, it revolutionized how many games, like it revolutionized games. And that camera, that third person switch could probably just be a whole lecture itself. Beyond that though, even with these two tweaks that he did, the two things that he did still goes on to inspire AAA and indie devs. Like his work mattered because it's persistent. It still is inspiring games today. So my thing was, why did I choose this is the part where it's like, why did it interest me? And kind of been explaining that the whole time. But Why? This was an easy choice. It's Resident Evil. Um, to me, I grew up playing this game series. It was always really cool, and to be able to take a deeper dive into the director or creator of this was actually it was really interesting. It was great to get to learn the processes behind what made these games great. Besides, oh hey, I played that and it was awesome. But like I said here, the worlds he created were so interesting. It's seeing how the steps gone or the steps put into that, the camera, the pacing, limited, so like everything put into that to make these worlds what they are was such an interesting process to learn about. So that to me was why. Why was it interesting? Why did I choose him over the 500 other names on the list? So, lastly, uh, these are my sources. First one I did Capcom date. Well, I don't think feel like I need to explain these terribly, but you can see all my sources. Uh, yeah, I believe that's all I have. So thank you guys. Thank you very much.